What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 10K on the Bay, my journey to 10,000 live listings on eBay. Today, I have a very special episode that's designed to help you develop a listing habit. I think this is an incredibly important topic because you are your habits. And Crystal and I are going to get into exactly how, or we're going to go over 6 ways that you can improve your listing habit. So, Crystal, why don't you introduce yourself and give everybody an idea of who you are and what's going on?
Hi guys, I'm Crystal Areal, Thrifty Crystal on Instagram, and I've actually been writing a book about habits. So I'm really excited to do this episode with Chris. I'm really into personal development and all that kind of stuff, and so I've really been gelling with Chris's YouTube channel, and he's really into a lot of the same things that I am. Lean and agile and daily habits and rituals and things. So the book that I'm almost finished with is called The 7 Day Habit. And I've got a whole section and a separate like addendum just for eBay people. So I'm super excited about that and this show and just getting to work with Chris a lot more. So thanks so much for having me.
You got it. Thanks for coming. So, as far as the format of the show, guys, we're each gonna give a tip and then give some feedback. And if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat, and we will go over it after the 6 tips. That way, we can be respectful of people's time. So, we're gonna get straight into it. I'm gonna give my first tip, and then we'll have a quick little discussion, which is dedicating the exact same time every week to listing. So, for me, that's going to be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. with a 1 hour lunch. I'm going to dedicate Monday through Friday to listing. I think having a dedicated time, just like a job, is going to cultivate that habit. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. If you, the brain it thrives on repetition. So if you're doing the same thing at the same time every day, then it knows what to expect. And that'll help with that habit for sure.
So, guys, I'm a big fan of scheduling your stuff, and I actually had a mastermind call with Crystal this morning that I slept through. And so, it's important also the night before to go over your day. I usually do that, and yesterday I did not do it, so my brain didn't have time to process what was supposed to happen today. So today, I'm totally out of sorts because I didn't plan my day yesterday. So I think that's not part of my part of my ideas this morning, but I just think it's important to go over your day the night before. Otherwise, you're going to be scrambled the next day trying to figure it out.
Yep.
Crystal, why don't you give your first tip?
So actually, my first tip totally piggybacks on what you were just saying, and that's to keep a planner. And especially for developing an eBay habit, you need to have a planner. And I'm not talking about planning it in your phone. I'm talking about a pen and paper, physical. You have a planner in your hand that you are holding every single night. And what I want you to do is open up your planner the night before. I want you to schedule out how many listings are you going to do the next day? Are you going to list a certain type of thing? Is there something special that you have sitting out in your listing area that you need to get up? Call that out specifically. Make a checklist of all of the things you need to do for your listing process the next day in your planner. Put that specific time in if you have a specific time, or if you don't have a specific time, that's okay. Still list out the number of items you want to get done. Basically, just your listing goals for the day. Ingrain them in your mind, look at them, read them, and commit to them. Having them down on pen and paper, you're making a commitment to yourself and you don't want to break that.
I think that's important. And the more detailed your plan is for the next day, the easier it is. So if you're going to be doing clothing and you know you need a yardstick for measurements, or you need to get fabric de-wrinkler, or
Yep.
you need shoe cleaning supplies, or you're going to do electronics and you need all your tools, get
Right.
all that stuff the day before. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to wake up to list all these electronics and you left your toolkit somewhere, and now you can't do it.
Right. And if you had that on a checklist in your planner the night before, it's already ready.
So let's go into a little bit more detailed. What does your paper planner look like?
So I actually am currently using a planner called Tools for Wisdom, and it's a really cool planner. It's got different sections. It's got like your whole monthly thing, where you can put, big chunks of stuff that if you know you have stuff to do on certain days. But then it's got daily and weeklies. It's got your top 3 personal goals, your top 3 business goals. It's got a section for checklists in it. It's got some personal development, frou-frou stuff if you're into that type of thing, daily affirmations and mind mapping and stuff. So for me, on like last night, I would have gone into my planner and I would have put my top 3 personal goals, which you guys don't need to know about, and my top 3 business goals, which would be to list 100 items. um Basically, I'm going through my death mountains right now, you guys. We just moved my office. It's crazy. So I have some goals around reorganization. I created a checklist for like exact order that I'm going to be doing the reorganization of the office, so I can check that off, kind of like a Kanban board, if you know what that is, all you viewers out there. So my planner has detailed checklists. My planner has very specific numbers, and my planner has a mind map for different areas. I've got mind maps for eBay and for the book and the house and stuff like that.
I need to get more into that. And there's a bunch of questions on which planner to use in the chat. And I know for a fact the only planner that matters is the one that you use. You can have any type of system. Some people write it down on a 3x5 card. Some people have
Mhm.
a really cute planner with cat stickers and little. I mean, my girlfriend gets into that. Her planner is
Mhm.
beautiful, and it's like a history of her life with all different stuff in it. And she gets one a year, and she spends an entire month looking for it. And then it's like her best friend, other than me. So it's like that's
Yes, exactly.
getting into that habit of, and for her and for me, like having one planner is really important. Like it's hard enough
Mhm.
to store all your stuff in one area,
Yeah.
let alone you know, multiple notebooks. That's not going to work.
No, absolutely.
Okay, let's get into my second idea for building a listing habit. Okay, so for me, building a listing habit, which I think is the most critical habit of being an eBay seller, um, maybe I think it ties. You want to source quality items with listing well, because there are
Mhm.
people that have really, really good high profit items that if they list a few of, they make their nut. But the majority of people, at least the people on my channel, are listing common items. So you need to list a good volume of those in order to be successful. So my tip for cultivating the habit is having airplane mode. So I have a separate device for listing. There's no internet, there's no other apps, there's no way to do anything other than the eBay app and the eBay or a calculator called Sales Calc that allows you to calculate the profit that you're looking for, or
Mhm.
an estimated profit per se. So for me, having a distraction-free time is super, super important if you want to get this habit, because each time you're interrupted by an email or a notification, it can take you like up to 20 minutes to refocus, and that is going to destroy your habit. Airplane mode, or a lot of people don't listen to any music, or they listen to instrumental music just to keep focused. And I forgot what study it was, but people who are on drugs perform better than people who are distracted. So try
Why?
not to be distracted. I think that goes without saying. Like texting is more dangerous than drunk driving. So just,
Mhm.
if you cannot be distracted when you're doing a habit, at least for that tiny habit, then if you can look forward to it. I put in my on my calendar phone time, meaning like, okay, I am going to play with my phone nonstop after this habit. Then I can look forward to it. But if you just put, I'm not going to check Instagram or Facebook all day, that's not going to work either. You need that if you're addicted to information like 99% of us are.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts?
definitely. Oh man, that would be a hard one for me because I'm one of those like hyper ADD people. So if I'm not doing 20,000 things at once, I don't feel productive, which is completely not true because there's no such thing as multitasking in your brain, right? But I don't put my phone on airplane mode, but I'm fairly disciplined. Like, I mean, when we're taking pictures and stuff, we're just taking pictures and I'm not really doing anything else. But sometimes I'll have my husband out there taking pictures and I'll be doing the other part of the listing process. But I definitely get distracted. I'll get on Instagram and take a picture or a video of my husband taking pictures. I'm like, hey, look what we're doing. So I am a little bit distracted, but I don't find it derails me too much. But I bet if I did turn off social media during that, I would be a lot more productive.
This is super interesting because it depends on your pace also. Like, for example, I have a photographer now, and he keeps asking me how many photos is possible in our 7-hour workday. And I'm like, it depends on if are we going to the bathroom? Are we eating in the middle of it? Like, what? I don't know. I think physically possible, you could do a set of photos in 2 minutes.
Mhm.
right? So 30 times 7 hours, with an hour long break, you could do 200 photos and drafts a day in
Mhm.
theory, time wise, physically. So when we're thinking about that kind of stuff, we're not really distracted. He doesn't check
Mhm.
social media one time because he's trying to do the as many reps as possible, as many photos as possible. If you have that type of a mindset, let's say you only have an hour a day or 2 hours a day because you have a life, unlike me, and you only have 2 hours a day to list, and you thinking, I want to list as many as possible, you're automatically not going to be distracted.
Mhm.
Like no one's checking their phone in the middle of a CrossFit 12-minute workout.
Right. I
Like
was
it's
thinking
so
that.
short, right? So it's okay to be distracted. I just think you need to schedule it outside of it.
Yeah, definitely. No squirrels.
No squirrels. So what's your second tip?
Let's see. My second tip is to have a list next area. So a lot of times when I come home from a garage sale or from a sourcing trip, I have a special table that's kind of next to my listing area, and it's the table that I put list next items on. Things I'm really excited about, high dollar items, anything that I know I want to go before everything else that I've got in Death Mountain over there. So let's see. So basically, you can do your list next area in a couple of different ways. You could have your list next area just be the things you're excited about or your high dollar items. Or one of the best things to do is the night before you've used your planner and you've planned out, I want to list 20 items tomorrow. Go and put those 20 items that you want to list on your list next area so they are prepared for the next day. And then maybe add a couple of extra bonus items that are also list next that you really love and you're excited about.
Talk about Death Mountain for a minute.
Oh, God, no. What about it?
So, do you think, because we're both lean aficionados,
Hmm.
do you think that and in lean you don't want to have the
Too much.
exact amount of inventory that you list because
Right.
sometimes it's inefficient to like potentially run out.
Hmm.
So I was going to ask you this: how much inventory is lean? Like, what's an appropriate amount of inventory and supply?
So that would take just a little bit of planning, right? So you want to talk about how many items you're going to list and then what's your sourcing schedule. Say I only source once a week. So I need to make sure that I've planned out my whole week and I know on my days or my sprints, and I need to know I'm going to list 50 items every day, so I need to have at least that many items in my ready to list inventory. And then plus I'm going to have some contingency because what if I can't go sourcing next week? So I like to plan at least a couple of weeks ahead. Although right now I probably have a couple of months ahead. I have a huge Death Mountain, you guys. It's crazy. And that's just because I can't stop myself from sourcing. And when we did this huge move from the inside of the house to the garage, and I've turned that entire area into my eBay room, it's been kind of in a shambles, and I've been trying to get my systems back in place, and I don't work well with clutter. So I've been really slowed down on the listing, but I keep sourcing because I just think, oh my God, if I don't go, I'm going to miss something awesome. So that is totally not lean. I have way too much work in progress in my backlog right now. So holy crap, the lean coach needs to get coached right now. Seriously. But I would say definitely at least a couple of weeks ahead of time, just like in Agile and Scrum, you would want a couple of sprints ahead of time. So you want at least that many. So however many a day for a couple of weeks, you want that in your backlog.
So my plan for sourcing wise is I want to source $10,000 worth of profit a week
Mm,
and list. So I want to list and source $10,000 a week of profit. And I would like to keep my death pile to 1 week
mhm.
because I think that's very, very lean. You just are just sourcing what
Yep.
you have that week. But after listening to you, I think you're correct. I think you need 2 weeks because if you
Hmm.
can't source 1 week, you need to have it. But for me, it's not a problem. That sourcing is the easiest part. So
Hmm.
that would be the least likely of the list, ship, and source issue. I feel like I
Right.
could source $100,000 if all I did was that in a week. All I was
Hmm.
doing was buying and looking for good deals that meet my minimum profit margin. But I think it's really good to visualize what your 1 week or 2 week inventory looks like so you
Hmm.
can get an idea. And if you're constantly sourcing, I'm listing more than you source, then your death mountain will get smaller every day. So
Definitely.
for people who have a shopping problem, I think it's okay as long as your listing problem is larger. Your
Right, right.
listing habit needs to be larger than your shopping habit. But you
Hmm.
don't have to not shop. Some people will need retail therapy, and that's
Yes,
a
that's
real thing,
me.
guys. People, you get a hit of adrenaline when you buy something.
Yeah.
If you need that hit, like try and like set your life up so that you don't have a death mountain or a death house or a death storage bin. Some people have like, I have six store like one. There was a guy that messaged me that has 550,000 items unlisted.
Oh my God.
Um, he has a multiple six-figure business, and the overhead to take care of 550,000 items is, I think it's like $6,500 a month is the payment that he's paying to
Oh,
just to store 500,000 items. And his eBay store is huge, but then you have to think about it. Like, are you um
the math
you
does
have
not.
all this staff, gigantic warehouse, tons of stuff moving in and out, but the actual net, I mean he knows his net, but like
Hmm.
it just seems like a lot of motion. That's not lean.
Oh
It's a
no, not at all.
gigantic, huge operation. And in some areas, when you get really good at sourcing, which is what I found for every single reseller, as you continue reselling, hopefully you get better at sourcing. So you get better stuff and you pass on items that you know
Hmm.
won't give you the right profit margin.
Yep.
So if you get better at sourcing, then in theory, you can buy less things and make the same money,
Hmm.
right? So your death pile needs to be shrinking organically.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're a hoarder.
Yeah, this is one of the
Um,
reasons I started selling wholesale lots was to get my death mountains down, and then I found I love that, so it gives me an excuse to keep shopping more.
that's right. So, and if you want to shop, um, you just got to go hard. And just a shout out to Ken in the chat. Hustlebee actually has pretty close to zero death pile. The only thing that he has in his death pile are things that he doesn't like listing, like jeans, for example. So
Mm,
Ken probably has $100,000 worth of stuff listed and probably 500 bucks of stuff unlisted. It's very low. It's
wow.
like incredibly, if you were to go to his apartment, it's like 99% listed. So, guys, this is a huge, huge, huge tip. And he loves shopping. And what he did was he increased the profit margin per item.
Hmm.
So he's like, I need to source stuff that's $40 or $50 profit. Now, here's the thing: you had to do a lot of shopping to find
Yeah.
$40 to $50 profit items,
Hmm.
right? That's a lot of shopping because you can't just go to Goodwill and pick up a shirt. There's hardly any
Hmm.
shirts that have $50 profit, hardly any clothing. So that's another tips. But I'm going to jump into my third um, tip, which is having a dedicated space to list. And I think this is massively important. You can have a huge death everything, right? Wall to wall, wall to ceiling stuff that's unlisted, but you have a small little corner that has a plant and there's no visible death pile in the background.
Hmm.
And that dedicated listing space will give you the headspace in order to list. Even if you have to put all the junk in the corner on your bed for a second and then just face away from your bed while you're listing, then it'll go away. You just can't have,
Hmm.
if you have any unlisted inventory in your vision, it's going to make you depressed.
Yes.
It's got to go, it cannot be visible from where you're listing, in my opinion, if you want to consistently do that.
Hmm. Agreed. Yep. Yeah,
Um,
that's one of the reasons that we moved out into the garage so we could have that dedicated space. It was
yeah.
just taking over our whole house, and we could see piles and bins everywhere, and it didn't work. It was depressing, absolutely.
I'm definitely 95% moved into my garage. There's hardly any stuff left that's not listed, drafted, or in the garage, in bins, away, out of sight, out of mind. I'm actually considering doing a co working space. So I want to list 200 items a day. So I'd like to put 200 items in my car, drive to an office, have the
Wow.
photographer and drafter meet me there. We knock out 200 listings, package them, put them back in my car, go back home, and then pack the 200 items that ship out that day and just compartmentalize it so that it's not at home.
That's
Um,
a lot of wasted movement, though.
it is some wasted movement. Um, I guess the to remove the wasted movement, you would just do that in your garage.
Yeah.
So if you backed your car to the front to the front of your garage, and then you unloaded the stuff onto a table that was 6 inches from your car, and then you processed it there, and then it went into the bins, and then at the same time stuff was going being packed or picked for shipping. I think you could make your eBay movement like under 100 feet if you kept it all in a small U-shaped cell, is what Lean
Yeah,
would say
maybe.
that you do. But I would love to have the entire operation work out of the garage. Plus,
Hmm.
the garage is not comfortable, which I think is important, kind of. Like if you're listing in your house, it's super comfortable. You're on the couch having hot Cheetos. That's not a thing. That's not a thing.
We put a comfortable chair out there, and we actually made a really comfortable space in the garage, because that's one of the reasons that we had all of this stuff in our house, was because I'm like, my back hurts, I want to be comfortable while we're listing, and but it was just taking over the house, so we actually just made a really comfy spot in the garage for doing it.
Stacy is really funny in the chat because people will say, "Describe your death pile," and she says Everest.
Yeah, same. Seriously, you
Yeah,
don't
you
even
want
know.
to be
I'll post
like,
a
describe
picture
your
on
death
Instagram.
pile. Non-existent. That'd be a much better answer.
Yes, it would be.
Um, yeah, I think it's important, guys. The people that I know that have a problem sourcing, they're like, huh, I can't seem to buy enough stuff. My stuff's selling too fast. Or I just can't get my volume up because like, and these are the people that I have found generally have the highest net, like
Hmm.
they net the most money. Because this is an important thing, especially for the clothing sellers in the chat right now. Some clothing doesn't sell.
Yep.
So if no matter what you do, the demand is not correct, or for some reason the seasonality is off, and
Hmm.
most people don't factor that into their model at all. They just
Right.
assume 100% of things will sell, and they do, but just not necessarily quickly.
Right.
So if you get to the point where you're incessantly running auctions to get rid of stuff, you're
Hmm.
not in a good situation. You need to source higher quality items. Most of the successful stores that I know only run auctions to boost traffic. They're
Yep.
not doing it to get rid of inventory. They're doing it to
Hmm.
get more traffic.
Hmm.
It's a different strategy. So,
Yeah.
what is your third tip?
Let's see. My third tip is to have a really, really well thought out listing process. So basically, your brain works on repetition and habit, right? So if you're going and you're listing stuff differently every time because you haven't really thought out the best way to list for you, your brain doesn't know what to expect. It's like, oh, what are we doing today? Oh, we're changing it up again. So you're changing the way that you're doing things, and your brain is panicking. It doesn't know what you're doing. So you're not creating a habit, for one thing, because you're doing things different every day, and that's what this is about, right? Is creating habits. And then the other piece is that you're just not being efficient if you haven't thought out your listing process, and you're doing it differently every time, and you're not even documenting how you're doing it. You're not being efficient. So have a well thought out listing process. Try a few different things and get it down to what works best for you. Document it. Put it down on a little sticky note or a piece of paper, laminate it, put it up on your wall next to your listing station, so you know what you're doing. And also, so if you have helpers come in and you're like, hey, can you help me with this? Oh, the process is right there on the board. They can go and look and see what they're supposed to be doing. So like, I've got my entire listing process like typed out right here, and it's just available. I can see it. My brain remembers what I'm doing, and it really helps to have it written down in front of you every day.
And I think this is super, super awesome as far as like writing down every single process. Like, as an example, like my skin has improved since adding in a skin routine that's written down and it's
Mm-hmm.
on my bathroom window or bathroom mirror.
Yep.
It's like, hey, do this face wash, do this toner, do this lotion, put sunscreen on, and it's written down. Even though I do
Mm-hmm.
the same thing every day, it's written down. And because if you write down, walk into the dedicated listing area with 10 items that I want to list, and then followed by like, or even before that, get dressed, put on these pants. I mean, that's going to help you. The more
Yep.
detailed you are, the easier it is, and the less your mind has to figure it out.
Yeah, your
You
brain
want to
loves to
reduce
have
it.
instructions. It does.
One more thing, I think we're going to give a couple of bonus tips before we continue. Is This is a really cool comment. Matthew says it's all about the money. I think that it kind of is all about the money in the sense that that's the why. That's why we're listing, kind of. So you're listing so that you can make a certain amount of money so you can do something else. It helps if you like selling things, but if you write down the money that you're going to make, like 10 items at $20 profit,
Mhm.
that's $200. And you think about that, it's going to actually, you know what? It's not going to motivate you as much as thinking about the process. I take that
No.
back. If you
Yeah.
think about the end goal, the money part, everyone knows that there's money involved when you list.
Mhm.
So I think you should focus on the actions. Um, if you want to be all about the money, focus about what makes the money.
Yeah. So my bonus tip would be have a vision board. So just what we were just talking about, it is all about the money, but the money is only the secondary. Why do you need the money? What's your goal? Is it to spend more time with your kids? Is it to go on vacation? Is it to buy your dream house? What is that? And you need to have that visually in front of you. Create that dream board, that vision board, and have that by your listing area, because your processes are going to be right by your dream board. You've got your vision, your picture, your life, your dream life right there in front of you. But how are you going to get there? Oh, look, right next to it is your listing process. This is how I'm going to
Mm.
get there, So,
That's really important. I actually have a photo list procedure and a folding. I have everything procedured out. Like for
mhm,
example, on a pair of jeans, I take the same 10 pictures every single time.
mhm,
Um, but sometimes, as an example, like the size and the content might be the same picture. So there's 10 pictures that I need, but it might end up being 8 pictures or something if it ends up being more than one item in a photo. So
mhm,
after the photo process, I have an area where I set the camera down and I fold the item for pre-packaging. I even have that written down. I fold my jeans
mhm.
in half, half again, and
Yep,
then into thirds, and then into the poly mailer, and then clipped, and then
yep,
filed. So the
yep,
whole thing is it's the same. And after I did that, somebody else can do it better than I can because the
mhm,
process is oriented, it's established, and what's going to really improve my speed, to be honest, is the drafting part. I do not have a drafting procedure.
mhm,
It's like different every time. I'm not doing it identically the same, so it's
mhm,
the slowest part. The photographs for me are literally 200 a day is how many
mhm,
photographs that I can take easily in 7 hours. And then the um, drafting part is insanely slow to me. So I need to get it so that it's the context switching of um yeah, just not having it written down. Like
right,
brush your teeth, do this one first. I mean, if you did that for a couple of times, you would know, but most people have to develop that habit.
right. Yeah, that's going to be constantly changing, right? So I've got my whole listing process documented all the way through, including drafting and going live and all that. But it changes. It's already changed. I iterate, at least every month and see what I can improve. So when I very first put out a video on my listing process, it was how to list fast on eBay. My process is like probably 50% different than it was back then. So that's an important thing, is to keep reevaluating and retrospecting on what you're doing and what your process is, and make sure that it's still the most efficient for you, or if you can make any improvements and change your documentation accordingly.
Yes, and you definitely need to do um let's see. Um let me see here. What was I going to say about the um I lost my train of thought. But as far as everyone in the chat, if you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat so we can talk about building our listing habit, because that muscle is really important. The
Yep.
stronger your listing habit is, the stronger your business is going to be for the most part. Unless you're sourcing stuff, it's not very good.
No amount of habits will help that.
Let's see. Diane drafts on the computer and then finishes on the iPhone while taking pictures. What do you think of that process?
Yeah, that's actually, well, let me just go through my process really quick. So I set aside the items that I want to list the night before, and then I take the pictures. And then the last picture I take is a clip with the inventory number on it. And then all of the items, as we're taking the pictures, go onto the table next to the computer. After all of the pictures are taken, then I go through and I enter each item into my spreadsheet. I look at the clip that's now attached to the clothes. I enter the items into the spreadsheet. I take the measurements. I put any comments, anything. Basically, my whole spreadsheet is is listed out with the item name, the eBay price, the Poshmark price, the inventory location, the measurements, the weight. I weigh it before I complete everything and before I draft. So all the things you need are in the spreadsheet for me. And then after I've gotten everything into the spreadsheet, then I go through and I copy and paste into my draft. I write down to the weight and my shipping policy and everything. And then I've got all of my drafts listed. Then I'll grab my phone where all my pictures are. And if I'm not using my virtual assistant for this batch, then I'll just go ahead and pull up my drafts on eBay, and it matches up really easily because my first draft is the last item that I took a picture of. So my first draft, I upload my pictures. Second draft, I upload the next pictures. So it's really simple that way, and I just make them live as I go. So I love doing the draft on the computer and finishing on the phone so fast that way.
I actually do not draft. So like kind of. So I will draft on the computer, but I don't save it. I leave it open
Mm-hmm.
and then I take the photos and then I add the photos in. So I don't close and reopen. So I just,
Mm-hmm.
as an example, for 10 items, I would draft 10 items with the items with me, take the photographs, upload them into my computer, and then add them.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll do most of it on mobile. If I'm gonna use mobile, I'm gonna draft and add the photos in on mobile,
Mm-hmm.
and then finish on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess there's both ways. When I use for some reason when I use mobile, I mean, yeah, when I use my phone, I do it first. But it looks like a lot of people in the chat do it the opposite way. They draft on their computer, take pictures
Yeah,
with their
I've
phone,
tried
then
it
they
both
upload it.
ways, but the computer way was much faster than starting it on the mobile. And I like to keep drafts actually ready, like up to 50 drafts I like to keep, because that way, if I didn't get to a listing one day, then I have a bunch of drafts ready. I can still open my store the next day and make them live. Or if I'm on vacation or something, I can list because I have a bunch of drafts ready.
Matt has a off-topic question a little bit, but how often do you end up keeping things instead of selling it?
Don't ask that question. Too often, I would say. I'm constantly reminding myself that I already have too much crap. I don't need more. But oh, it's my size and it's beautiful and I love it. Yeah, I do. I almost don't buy things that are my size that I love just because I know I'll want to keep them, but I do. I end up keeping stuff. At least a couple of items from every sourcing trip I keep for myself.
I am going to move to the model of having 100% of my stuff that I own listed.
Mm.
And I'm just going to wear a 9507 one day until it sells. But
Oh,
like
nice.
the way that I have done it is now that I'm washing 100% of my clothing. So it gets washed. If I want it, I'm just going to throw it in a pile. And I'm very minimalist. So I
Mm-hmm.
like the idea of having very few things, but they're awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So as an example, yesterday I washed like 125 shirts. There are two shirts that I liked. I repack, or I'm sorry, instead of adding to the amount of clothes that I have, there's really only 10 shirts that I wear. So I threw two of the shirts that I was wearing into the next pile to get washed again because I was wearing them. And then I
Mm-hmm.
put the two new freshly washed things that I'm going to wear into my pile. So I like to just keep 5 to 10 shirts or so. I can't be Mark Zuckerberg and wear the same shirt every day.
Yeah.
And the reason being, like, I just like clothing. If I didn't like
Mm-hmm.
it, then I wouldn't do it. But as far as other inventory, the way that I avoid keeping it is just setting it as like is packaging it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll list it and package it, and I'm
Yeah.
not gonna unpackage it and then wear it or use it. So as long as it's in a poly mailer ready to go, I'm not gonna really take it
Yeah.
out.
I actually made a rule for myself now, since I have such a shopping problem and a keeping problem, that if I decide I'm going to keep something that I brought home and sourced, I have to pick two things out of my closet or out of my house to replace that one thing I just took out of my inventory. So that's not really a deterrent because I have a lot of stuff I can get rid of.
Mm-hmm. Imported Music is asking, what about listings with donations to charity? Um, for me, he or she is asking if you get more money. I have had the experience of getting more money with charity listings on a rare item, not on a common item. Like I'm not going to buy an iPhone case for $1 more than everyone else if the dollar goes to charity,
Hmm.
because it's too complicated. I'm not going to get that far when I'm looking for it on the search rankings. But if it's
Hmm.
rare, Like my Apple shoes, if I put 10% charity, of course people are going to bid higher because they know like a significant chunk of money is going to charity. Plus, um, it makes people feel better about the purchase.
Hmm.
So it absolutely does not help you sell a common item for more. There's no way that the statistics will prove that.
Yeah. And I don't do the donations to charity yet at this point.
So Texas Scout Treasures Margaret is in the chat. Thanks for stopping by. You can always have a rotating wardrobe. I mean, I've even done that with cars. Like I'll buy
Yeah.
a car knowing I'm gonna flip the car and I'll drive it in the meantime. You could
Yeah.
essentially in our I think it's more acceptable now for the millennial generation because like I'm not attached to things. Like it can be replaced. There's no way that I'm not going to find a cool shirt that I like. There's so many shirts.
Hmm.
There's literally millions of designs. So
Yeah.
like I'm not going to have a problem replacing anything. My parents' generation is totally different. They would buy something and use it until it doesn't work anymore,
Hmm.
but they would pay full retail. So like that's the idea. If you were to buy just as an example for a car, if you buy a brand new car and drive it for 10 years, you can actually buy 3 pre-owned cars for less money and have a
Hmm.
different car every 3 years
Yep.
instead of driving one car for 10 years. But, that's that our economy is built on people that pay full retail,
Right.
and this is interesting. Like, I try not to ask for a discount when I'm buying stuff for myself because I'm trying to train myself to be in the mindset that I don't offer that big of a discount. Everything in my store is overpriced. So like I want that because somebody overpays. I want that to be my customer. So for me, I don't mind overpaying. I never haggle with somebody. Like if I'm at a flea market and they're asking for, I'm not gonna say, how about three? When it's going to sell for $50. Like don't be that guy. That's not the
Right.
right person to be. And it's
Hmm.
it's going to be lose-lose for everyone. I'm not going to bargain at In-N-Out Burger. There's just some places where you just pay retail.
Yeah, plus it creates a poverty mindset if you're constantly looking for a discount, whereas if you don't need to haggle, your brain thinks, "Oh, I can afford that. I don't need to haggle." And it just really helps you in your prosperity mindset.
Don't wish it were cheaper, wish you were better. That's how I like to see it. I don't look at things like I have no issue paying like $90 for a shirt. If it's what I want, it's not an issue. If I wear it and I get the use out of it, what's the point of making money? And that's another thing that
Hmm.
I think you need to be abundant so you can do that.
Yep.
If you are always looking for a discount, sometimes you're that you touched on the scarcity mindset. I think that'll destroy your reselling career. You can't have it.
Absolutely.
Um, don't let's stop talking about In-N-Out. It's gonna make me go get some.
We don't have it in
Um,
out here. So jelly.
Stacy hasn't been listing. Um, so again, if you want to start the habit, start small. And I think for me, it's interesting. I have a 200 item a day goal, right? Which I rarely hit because it's really hard to do that. But it starts with one.
Hmm.
Like I just get into the area that has the stuff ready. For me, 200 items is 10 bins of clothing. And so I have 10 bins of clothing. My photographer just got here. That's why I had to go answer the door. He has a mission. There's a space in the corner that we're taking the photographs. There's nothing in it except for those 10 bins. So ideally, when we start at 9, at 4 o'clock, all of those will be photographed and he can go home.
Yep, and it does. It just starts with one. So she was saying she's not hasn't been listing. That's why we need to get you in the habit of listing. And even if it's just one item a day,
Hold on a
just
second.
get that one item listed. And maybe set a really small goal for 5 items a day. If you don't have 5 items a day, go around your house and find some stuff. I mean, if I don't know why you're not listing, if you just don't have stuff, or just it's hard to get started, but that's the key. You just got to get started. Just start with the one, and maybe don't even set a goal for the day. Just say, okay, I'm just going to list one, and then after that one, say, okay, I'm going to list another one, and see how far you get, and then maybe make that same number. So you get to 5 and you're like, I'm done, I'm tired, or whatever. Make that same number your goal for the next day and see if you can continue on for 7 days and do 5 items a day, or whatever your number ends up being.
I used to have this written down somewhere, but I don't anymore. But it's that motion creates more motion. So like if you're not doing anything, you're going to continue to not do anything.
Yep.
So like you just go walk around the block, go get a glass of water, start moving around, and then you'll tend to stay in motion.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Same. And also try launching yourself. And I forget her name. I think it's Mel Robbins. She has the 5 second rule. And she just does, okay, I'm gonna go do this thing, but I really don't want to. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And she gets up on one and goes and does it. So if you're not listing and you want to go list something, just tell yourself, I'm gonna do it on one, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then launch yourself up and go list something, even if it's one thing.
And that's like the one push-up model. If you
Yeah,
guys want to start working out and you have a goal of one push-up, when you're down there, you might as well do more.
right.
So, I mean, just get in there and do it. And I think that
But at
that really
least you
does
did your
help.
one.
Just get there and do one. I don't, yeah. And that's how people break writer's block. It's like just one sentence, just one word. Get
Yes.
in there, remove all distractions, and then just write one word
Hmm.
and they'll start. So, Matt's asking, when you go to shops, do they know you're a reseller? Do they care? What do you think?
For me, they never even really ask. I go to the bins a lot and I go to a bunch of the different like consignment shops around here and I buy, I mean, hundreds of pounds of stuff. They have to know I'm a reseller. I mean, I'm not going to go buy 100 pounds of stuff for myself, right? So they probably know. They don't seem to care at all. You're spending money in their store. I mean, they're not going to say, no, you can't buy all that stuff to sell because they want to sell it, right? So I don't think they care.
I get 100 times better deals and more stuff by stating that I'm a reseller. That's not the first thing I say.
Hmm.
After I buy stuff, then I present that. There's a lot of finesse and stuff into that that
Hmm.
you would do. If I say if you present yourself not as a reseller and it's clear that you are, you're gonna
Hmm.
break that trust.
Oh yeah.
So that's gonna make you look um, foolish if you do that. Like if people are like, hey, I have, you know, if you buy 12 pairs of shoes and they're all different sizes and you're not upfront, it's going to be obvious what you're doing, at least to
Yeah.
me.
And
um,
one thing, a caveat to that is at garage sales. So I find kind of the opposite, where if you tell them you're a reseller up front, they're not going to give you better deals, in my experience, because they know you're going to go and make money on it. So they don't want to discount the item. But the opposite is true for, I always leave my number with people, and say, hey, if you have, all of these clothes left over at the end of your garage sale, give me a call. I have a store and I would love to come and just grab them all. And I do that. I've done it the last couple weekends in a row, and I've gotten way better deals than I would have gotten at the bins for way higher quality items by doing that. So it's catch 22, right? It can go either way.
no, that's super important. And at garage sales, I do say that I'm a reseller, but after I buy something, because
Yeah.
then I'll say I'll buy a whole box of stuff, move it to my car, come back, and then I'll start with the like, what else do you have in your house? Let me buy
Right.
everything, and then they're very excited because then you and if you're funny and you're nice, people will definitely help you out. Like
Yeah.
people are also more ambitious than they actually act, meaning that
Hmm.
they may have 20 boxes of stuff they want to put in the garage sale, but after 10 they're tired and they just have a donut and they don't hang out, they don't bring the rest of the stuff out
Yeah.
because they're just tired. So I have gotten literally boxes of gems that people have left because they just didn't finish bringing everything out to the garage sale.
Yep.
And the people who are um, cherry picking to the like I feel like you need a nice variety before you ask. If you just go and pick one, you just go there, you buy the one PlayStation and you haggle them all the way down to like they're punching you in the face because you're asking for so low. Then you ask for something from their house, they're gonna be like, get out of here. Like I
Hmm.
didn't like doing business with you the first time. Why do I have to do more business with you? You
Right.
know, that's not the way to do it. That's why I don't haggle with people that over a dollar because
Yeah. You got
I
to be
want to
like,
buy more stuff.
hmm.
The dollar does not matter. Lynn is asking, do you have any tips on authenticating diesel jeans?
Ooh, diesel jeans. Actually, I don't, because that's not really a brand I find a lot. So I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head. I'm sure we could Google though.
For me, I like to post on Instagram. I think that's the easiest way for me to authenticate, get a bunch of different
Yeah.
opinions. Just if you're in a hurry and you need a
Hmm.
quick response, and then if there's any identifiers on stitching or you're not familiar with the label, do some quick Google searches for fake versus non-fake
Yep.
online, and then diesel, it depends on the price that you're paying. If I'll take a chance on an item, if it's like $5 and I think it might
Yeah.
be worth 100 to take home and it's worth the research. I'm not going to authenticate something that's worth $20. Like, don't do that. Just don't buy that and go buy something
Hmm.
else that's worth $20 that is authentic. It's tough with diesel because diesel is a very, very good brand. So, you're going to get 50 plus for a decent size, this decent pair.
Hmm.
Also, not all diesel is created equal. It's the
Yep.
same with all kinds of different brands. Like, not all brands are the same. There are certain Chanel bags that'll sell for under 100 and some that'll sell for 3,000. So
Hmm.
you just need to really do some homework.
Yeah, that's one of the mistakes I made when I first became a reseller, was like buying up all the Seven for All Mankind jeans I could find and finding out, oh, really, it's only the dojos that are worth anything, and everything else you can't even sell for $10 usually. So, yeah.
Brenda is saying she's been listening like crazy, revising, relisting, selling similar, and not getting anything. You should email me your store, guys. If you want to be on the Reseller Smackdown show where I go over people's stores, just
That's
email
awesome.
me your a link to your store, and I'll go over it with some people, and we'll give you some ideas on how to improve it. My initial reaction is that the quality of your goods is really low. That's the reason why things aren't selling. It's not possible to list high quality in demand items and not sell anything. It's not possible. It just means the stuff that you're selling, the value is below the price. As simple as that is said, a sale occurs when value exceeds price. Somebody thinks something's worth 20 and you have it for sale for 19, sold. That's how you guys do it. Um,
Yep. And also do some research on the eBay Cassini search engine, right? Because you want to be able to get up there higher in those rankings and be really consistent in listing every day.
um, So here's an interesting thing. So I have Matt. Matt, I'm just gonna be upfront. It sounds like you're relatively like a negative person because you've had a lot of comments that are sort of um, negative, and I'm just going to point this out because I think that you're focused too much on other people. So you've asked like, what do you think of the way people do this or that or different people? I don't worry about it because there's only enough time to worry about. I mean, I'm sorry, there's not even enough time to worry about yourself and the people that you care about. So worrying about other people is just like kind of a little bit of a waste of time. Like, exactly how much profit you make in your own store, and all you have to do is improve that week over week instead of worrying about other people. And this is why I hide my solds, because all the people who really want to learn will go in there and check my feedback, see what I'm selling and learn.
Mhm.
And then other people will it just like makes people who are negative go away. But anyway, that's a tangent that I don't want to go over. Let's see. Lots of watchers in your store, but slow sales right now. I don't
Yeah.
think watchers matter.
They don't. They absolutely don't.
No,
No.
I'll give you an idea kind of the demand, but I have items with 20 watchers that have not sold. I had 3,000 watchers on the Apple shoes, and I had actually quite a few reasonable offers, but I don't know if I'm going to sell them for less than a certain amount that I want. But watchers don't really do anything. One thing you can do though, if you have a lot of watchers, I've tried this and it's worked. So I had a cause toy that had 10 watchers in the first week at the price that I wanted. Right. So I'm like, okay. And so I actually started the auction at 99 cents because of the 10 watchers. And it went up to, I wanted $60 for it. And I started at $1. And it ended up going for like 70 because I know what the demand at that point is going to be okay. But if you don't get a lot of that, and that's a little more advanced, and you have to be okay with that
Hmm.
failing. But
Yeah.
I know there's no other ones on eBay. There's already that many people looking for it. Let's try it.
Yeah, and the only time I've really found that watchers are useful is when you start to run sales. And if you run a sale, then they'll get a notification that your item just got lowered by a certain percentage. And sometimes that makes a sale, but usually not. And for me, like I can have 20 watchers. I do. I have a pair of shoes that has 20 watchers on it, and it's been up there forever and no sales. So I just canceled that one and relisted it, and it sold right away with no watchers. Like it just doesn't matter.
Um, People are saying they're scared to have their store analyzed. Don't be scared. Like, it's called a reseller smackdown, but it's not me slapping you in the face. It's just me giving, and basically the only things that matter are better title, better photos, better description, better price. It's not too complicated. We're just going to
Mhm.
basically go through and say, okay, these items are priced too high. Even without doing research, we can tell sometimes by looking
Yeah.
at it. I'll have a guest come on, and if you're selling a Banana Republic used shirt for $40 and the market is 10, it's not going to move no matter what, how great your title is. You could have a mannequin, beautiful pictures. And you guys know that store that I have that I review all the time, that's Reynaldo 92. The guy has no lighting. Every single clothing item looks like it was stuffed into a backpack. Every shirt is wrinkled to the max. Like you couldn't wrinkle it more. He uses the room light, so it's yellow. It's on his bed, which even has the curve for the side of the bed on it. And he does 20,000 a month
How
because
is that
he's listing
possible?
the highest quality stuff that people want at a slightly below market price. And people are like, yeah, so okay, this shirt, this Peter Millar shirt is selling for $25. I can buy it from Ronaldo 92 for $3 less than the market. And obviously, he doesn't have the overhead of a nice mannequin and a nice
Mhm.
setup. It's just some dude with a shirt on his bed. They know he has it, right? And so it doesn't, if you are priced slightly below market with a great product, this, if people were to look at this guy's store, they would be like, oh, I get it. Finally, it's not present. Presentation is important, but mostly it's the product.
Mhm.
Like if you, as an example, you had a Ferrari and you parked it in a grungy barn with horrible dark lighting and you charged $100 for it, you would still sell it in 1 second,
Mhm.
right? So it's
Yep.
just the perceived value. The presentation is important, and you can only make something ugly so pretty with a bunch of stuff. Like, and I use the example of, let's say, Morona, not to hate on Target, but like if their item is only $10 new or $20 new, how much can you really get for it
Right.
used? It's
Mhm.
not even that desirable new. So, and that's the part that makes it really challenging. You can take perfect photos, great description, great pricing, non-desirable product, not going to sell.
Yep. Definitely.
Let's see. Your sister brags about watching 299 items. She has no intentions of buying. I've never heard that before.
Why
I've
watch
never
the
heard people
items?
brag about how many items they're watching. But a lot of the things that a lot of your watchers are also your competition.
Yeah.
There's people on there looking for what kind of item you have.
Mhm.
Um, I think of my 3,000 watchers on my Apple shoes, 29.99. Probably people on Instagram curious for what it's going to sell for. So
Right.
you
That's why
don't
watch
know.
matter.
Um, you use mobile. Okay, so this is the thing with mobile, and I think this is pretty consistent. I can list 10 to 15 items by myself with mobile, and that is plenty. And if you do them one at a time, the amount of mistakes is really low. So if you get to the point where you're listing, let's just say 10 per hour with your phone, um, and you want to list 100 items a week and make $10 profit, that's a $1,000 a week income, guys. And the way that I would do that is I would go out and look for things that have a $20 profit. So if you go out and your job, you're an eBay reseller, your job is to go out and find stuff that make profit, and you find 100 items that make $20 profit, okay, according to solds. And then you go online and you sell them for a little bit less, let's say 18 or 16 or $15 profit, and you sell a good chunk of it, and a few items don't sell, make sure that you actually factor that in. Not 100% is going to sell right away. So then you can actually net the $10 per item that you need to make the $1,000 a week. That's the formula, guys. It's not, you can stop watching YouTube right now and never watch it again with just that formula. And don't overcomplicate it. And also, like I have to say this on every video, the more items you have, it doesn't speed up the how fast your items sell. It's the same, or it goes down. So if you have 100 items and you're only selling one, and you have 200 items, you're predicted to sell two or less because like your sell through rate's so low. Not a lot of people are looking at the 100. So you want to get it up. So you're selling a decent amount of stuff.
Mhm.
Neville, this is the last point that I'm going to make. Neville's saying you list on a desktop and you list as many as you can in one setting. This goes back to my sprint model. I love the idea of doing as many as you can in one setting and just narrowing it into a small window. Like I'm going to list as much as I can in an hour and I'm done. And if you look at professional athletes, they rest 20 hours a day. 20 hours a day they're resting and they're going really really hard at it for like maximum 1 to 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
They might be doing some other conditioning yoga or whatever, but you can't go hard 24/7. If a professional athlete can only do it for an hour, in some cases 5 minutes or even 1 minute, the 100-meter race is like 10 seconds, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Usain Bolt is resting for 23 hours to prepare himself for that. So if you guys are going to go really, really hard, don't burn yourself out.
Yeah, and if you go back to the habit I was talking about, where you're putting your however many listings you want to do the night before in your planner, you got to think about that too. How much time do you have? And you have to know your process and how long it takes you to list that, right? Because if you said that you want to list 100 items the next day, but you only have an hour, obviously that's not reasonable. So if your habit is going to be listing, 5 items, 10 items, 20 items, or whatever, make sure you have the right time, or make your habit list as many as I can for 1 hour. So make sure you just have your time set and you know how many items you can list.
That's right. This is the last question. Um, how do you set up for brighter images?
Hmm. For me, I have a lighting kit. I have two soft boxes that I use, and then I've got an overhead light. I have a ring light, but I don't use it. I find that it's bright enough with just the two soft boxes, and I don't have them right in front or right on the side. I kind of have them in the corners at an angle facing the item, so it kind of gets all around it. And that's pretty much all I do. And I just take the pictures with my phone. I don't use a special fancy pants camera or anything like that. And I find that the lighting is pretty good.
The way to get brighter pictures, you kind of want your camera on a dark or neutral setting and more light.
Hmm.
That's how you get more bright
Yeah.
pictures. I have all the fancy pants stuff for lighting, and it's
Yep.
not necessary.
Yeah.
I have it mostly to be straight with you guys because I got it for free. Like a lot of companies are sending me stuff to review, and I would not say the pictures are that much different. So I mean, they're different, but like the difference between a 7 and a 10
Hmm.
um, is not going to make you sell it for more money. It might make you sell it faster, but let's see. Also, guys, if you want to do a quick calculator, you can just type it into the search bar and it will do the math for you. I don't know if you guys know that hack, but if you're trying to calculate something quickly, you can just type it into your search bar. And if you want a rough idea, fees are 14%. If you charge for shipping, that's a good enough model. So if you sell something for $100, you can expect a net 86. If you charge for shipping, then that's factored into it.
Hmm.
So I recommend you get at least a $20 profit. So on an $86 net item, I mean, that's a little bit of a more expensive item. But for me, I wouldn't mind because now I have less of a capital restriction. Buying $66 to net 86 is okay to me. But that's something that has to be replenishable so I can sell a few of them to make up for potential returns. That's
Hmm.
something that you guys need to consider also. Not only are some of your items not going to sell, you're going to have partial returns. So if you guys aren't writing down on paper, like Crystal has told us over and over again, then you're going to struggle because like do the math first, then try to figure out how to do the action.
Hmm. Reverse engineer it.
Reverse engineer it. All right, guys. So we're gonna hop off. Crystal, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you? Maybe give a little more plug for your habit formation
Sure.
ideas and resources, and then we'll hop off.
I'm at Facebook, facebook.com/work with Crystal. My Instagram is thrifty.crystal. And if you want to check out my 7-day habit site, that's the7dayhabit.com. The book is in pre-launch right now, so go and enter your email and I will notify you as soon as the book is launched. And everybody who joins the email list to get on that pre-launch notifications is going to actually get a free digital copy from 10K on the Bay. So that's it
Awesome,
for
guys. I
me.
appreciate that. And everyone, if you have any questions, email us at 10kinthebay@gmail.com, or you can respond in the comments and we'll review those as well. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.